changes that are necessary to life is something. Cheering us both along the road.
Hello, good evening, everybody. Hi, everyone. You could all settle down a little bit. We're going to get started. Welcome to the Grolier. My name is Lily Hauser. I'm currently an intern here. I would like to remind everybody to silence their cell phones and please keep your masks on during the reading. We have some great poets tonight and a pretty full house. So let's get started. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Enjoy.
Wow. Is this me? I get up and I introduce now. I'm acting like I know exactly what I'm doing. Hi, everyone. It's so nice to see you and to meet you. My name is Gabrielle Calvocoressi, and I have just like the unbelievable pleasure of getting to introduce Isabel Galleymore tonight. It's very moving to me. First of all, I want to say that this is Isabel Galleymore. May I call you Izzy?
Yeah.
This is Izzy's first public reading in the United States. I mean, she's an effing rock star in England, and we get to have her with us. And I get to have the great pleasure and the honor of being over there at the Radcliffe Institute with Izzy this year. And I just want to say, like, as someone who is such a fan of her book, Significant Other, which is over there for purchase, and just like felt so excited to get to be in that space with her. It's such an honor to get to read with Izzy tonight, and also to think about her poetics and all of us getting to be inside the vessel of those poetics. I feel like as poets, we talk so much about like, oh, clarity and precision and craft. We say these things and like they don't mean anything anymore in some kind of way. But there really is this extraordinary precision to Izzy's work, and it's a kind of visual and heart and intellectual precision in looking at the world that also has this like unbelievable spaciousness to it, right? There's a way in which Izzy can have us look at something like some small animal, right, that we might think of as beautiful or cute. That's something that Izzy's really interested in. Or maybe we're looking at like the small animal of a baby, who then we realize like, oh my gosh, like that baby hasn't even been born yet. Oh, that baby is just an idea. Oh, that baby is a kind of hunger. And we enter into this vessel of what it is to want things, what it is to dream of wanting things, and what it is to also like want to hug something and hold something so tight that maybe like you even kind of obliterate it in the act of doing that, or obliterate yourself in some way. I just am so honored to be here with you tonight and to be inside your poems, because to me, this is a poetics that is so important, and just the poems we need right now. So Izzy, welcome.
Wow. I really hope I can live up to this. Gabby, thank you. Thank you, James of the Grolier. Thank you, Grolier, for having us both read this evening. It's a delight to be here. And yes, it is my first US reading. Okay. I'm going to read mainly from Significant Other, my first book, which came out with Carcanet in the UK. And I'm going to read a little bit of new work. Okay. Harvest. After stripping the branches of berries, the robin held a handful of seeds in her stomach. The robin carried a tree. In fact, she secretly sowed a whole forest, a store of bows and arrows and shields. Years found the bird had planted a battle,
her tiny body had borne the new king. Men looked up to the skies and blessed or blamed the planets moving overhead. A blackbird, meanwhile, started to pick at the fruit both armies had left. A few years ago, when I was writing this book, I met a fantastic marine biologist, a guy called Michael DePledge back in the UK. And he told me that every time he hears the phrase to be at one with nature, he has a kind of allergic reaction. And this really interested me. He said something along the lines of that when we do, or when we perhaps have the opportunity to become one with nature, perhaps we risk losing our responsibility to it. And that's really stayed with me. Once there was a question of how close to come to nature without being eaten. But as the town fussed to build a fence, someone likened their hands to crows, their stuttering heart to a common toad. To be at one suddened the air. Rain fell on their faces, and with it they were one, they said, with the rivers and stones, one with the riverbank's wig shops of moss, with the prickliest gorse and its bees, bright as licorice all sorts. At one and lost, as the woman wrapped in her lover's arms, who accidentally kisses herself. By ourselves. The too hot winter sun, no cloud. I glanced up to find we were finally by ourselves, and had been for a while, hadn't we desired to be alone those times we flirted with seeing human forms in trees? Some evenings we gave over entirely to making the moon one of us. Still, it felt too fast, this intimacy, the over-hasty buds, the last few bees finishing our sentences, their bright cheeks turning pale. So this book is, as you might be able to tell, interested in these tiny creatures, as Gabby said, and interested in climate change and extinction. The poem I'm about to read has two numbers in it. The first number is 8 million, and this refers to the 8.7 million species that we're apparently meant to have on Earth at the moment. And a dozen, 12. So supposedly there are 12 extinctions that happen each day. Choosing from 8 million differently constructed hearts. I couldn't. I chose to love them all. The squid's triptych of pumps, the snake's cardial sac expanding as it eats. To say nothing will come between us, to stay benignly intimate was... Sometimes not calling was easier. Sometimes I'd forget to touch you, and you, and you. A natural phenomenon dwindling, one of a dozen breakups from the world each day. Like the others, it seemed you just popped out for a pint of milk, and now nothing's conjured hearing your name. So a few years ago, I had the great honour of having a few residencies in the southwest of England in a place called Cornwall. Anyone ever been to Cornwall here? A few nods, yeah, a few hands. It's a beautiful part of the UK. And I got up close and personal with some rock bulls and their inhabitants. And I'll tell you a little bit more about this little fella on the front in a moment. But this poem is called Limpet and Drill-Tongued Whelk. And I'll just read it. I don't think I'm going to explain too much. Limpet and Drill-Tongued Whelk. Across the rock pool floor, a limpet grazes. A stray magician's cup, moon textured, the shape of light pointing through frosted glass. It is a modest party hat in which something like a head resides, oblivious of this dog whelp that pads against the thick, still brine and climbs upon the limpet, an ornate seat upon an elephant. Carnivorous mollusk, tiny fracking rig, clocking in with its drill tongue, clutching as the limpet rises from the stone to become half mushroom, half bucking bronco. There are a lot of drama. There's a lot of drama in rock pools. Yeah, go find your nearest rock pool and enjoy it. So yeah, this kind of creepy / sexy creature on the front is called a spiny cockle. It has this long leg which helps to kind of bury itself in the sand. But supposedly, and I didn't see this in my field work, but it also uses this leg to kind of get itself away from dangerous situations. Spiny cockle. From their meter-deep sandy resorts, the waves have raised these hard orbs, clenched like cement hedgehogs. They wear their ribs inside out and pricked with a white picket fence to keep their soap dish interiors, their lattice gill slither selves from the crunch of an oyster catcher's kiss, or the orange fog of this starfish that causes one cockle to buckle and let its long pink foot slip like a leg from the slit of its crenulated skirt. Soft pogo on which it floppy leaps away across the wet desert. I've been trying to write a kind of romantic climate change poem. Harder than I thought. To kind of merge the tropes of a kind of soap opera or a kind of rom-com with the kind of extremes of what we're experiencing. But this is my attempt. Day. The suspense is killing me. I don't know what's going on out there. Day. Having lived this long with one another, we know Day's face, Day's hands so very well. The way it touches and likes to be touched can, in the most part, read its mind. So when we hear that Day is only playing along, that Day has a plan to abandon us, we brush it off as gossip. After all, the orange juice carton pours out orange. Birds gently carry on birdsplaining themselves. Under the trees of our tree-lined streets, a few of us gather without exception, our talk of the weather still small. This next poem has like the longest title of anything I've ever written before. I always feel like I should kind of apologize for it. I think a lot about plastics, generally day to day. And I don't actually think that much about Celine Dion, but she's in the title. So this is examples include Celine Dion's My Heart Will Go On. The toy ring with little kitten's face loves the world so very much. Child's room, roadside, ocean floor. Decade after decade, it can't tear itself away. When the world comes home tired, the toy ring with little kitten's face is the pink and heart-shaped post-it note, is the bunch of petrol station flowers one person gives another as they imitate the hard-wearing infatuation of the toy ring with little kitten's face. Oh, people in their cars and kitchens singing a forever and always. Really, you have to feel for them. Ocean. wasn't walking beside her, walking with the ocean below, when you didn't know her and wanted to? In that heat, along that path, you hesitated at a slug, beached like a tiny grey whale. 30 tons and 70 years of navigating the continental shelf assumed by this soil-scuffing inch. And what would she make of you? The ocean blinked. Say you took that step, or say you fell. Wouldn't she move you miles in herself? So as well as Cornwall and the rock pools, I had the privilege of spending a month in the Peruvian Amazon along the Rio Tambopata on a residency that was in a kind of ecotourism lodge, which was also a research center. And it was just incredible. The biodiversity in the rainforest was amazing to see up close, but it was also the naming of the species that I was finding. So the naming of the insects, the birds, lots of insects. And the naming was so deeply and richly metaphorical. And so I kind of tried to distill it into this piece. The New World. Its leaf nose a clock. The pink toes are poised. In the dark understory, the wolf with 8 legs dines on the harlequin's long eyes. A whip on the floor, a whip on the limb, the bushmaster waits. An untouchable lobster fattens upon the leaf litter. Somebody is calling for mother, mother. Somebody munches on sphinx. For all their splashing in the figgeries, the earless family can't wake the kitty sounds from sleep. So we're over Valentine's Day. That was yesterday. This is a kind of Valentine's poem, I guess, maybe a post-Valentine's poem. A stranger. In one unfamiliar town, I ask a stranger where the small red bus departs. I'm told you're almost there. It leaves from where the elms once stood before the road was paved. I end up searching for some past felling, an old yawn in the earth. Although I'm told the only chance of love is via falling, how easy it is to walk past. Okay. I ran a poetry workshop in the UK, and it was at an owl sanctuary, which sounds great, right? I mean, I think something went wrong with the publicity because we had two human participants and about 20 owls. So yeah, that kind of didn't work out, but it kind of did. I mean, I kind of like to think that the owls were also maybe writing poems. And I certainly did. This is my owl sanctuary poem. Kind. Being steeped in his keeper's routine, the owl anthropomorphizes himself upon the plinth. If we put a female in with him, he'd still make love with the hats on our heads. He's been here twice as long as I've been captivated by you. Like him, I don't think of myself as possessed. Until one night, loosed to the world, I find myself expecting everyone to be your kind of kindness. Okay, I'm going to read one last poem from the book, and then I'm going to give you some newer stuff. This is the title poem. This is Significant Other. A cloud takes on the shape of a tortoise. The tortoise can never repay the gesture. Unashamedly, its owner once believed that it answered hello in its reptilian hiss, as she once believed that he who delighted her body only. Did the creature ever think a thought her way. The tortoise snaps its tortoisey jaws, eating all that's laid on without looking up. Okay. I think I just have 3 poems. So yeah, as Gabby mentioned, I'm working on a project that's thinking about the role that cuteness plays in our relationships with the non-human world, how it suggests ways of commodifying nature, but also caring for nature. And there are a lot of real animals that have found their way into my poems. But I'm starting to think that actually I also want to be thinking about the real stuffed toy animals that we will have, most of us have, in our bedrooms, in our children's bedrooms. Those kind of animals, I think, also tell us something about ourselves. So this is called Squeeze-A-Mole. I'd left the house, citing a walk, 6 p.m., a few degrees above freezing. On somebody's dashboard, a soft toy, lilac-furred and smiling, baby monkey-esque, a breast measure of squishiness. It possessed an explicitly loving gaze I might have judged mildly obscene. But that evening I needed to find the soft toy benign. The soft toy was eager to love me. And it did so, I felt, comprehensively. In that moment, on the street, a stranger passed between us, and I saw how its moon-eyed look remained, adoring him just as much as me, presumably capable of adoring wholesale. It was so indiscriminate in its loving, I couldn't help feeling angry, disappointed in myself. This is Little Fly, and it's a translation of mosquito. That's all you need to know, I think. Little Fly. Because the thought was very bad and unerasable, I told myself the thought was little as a fly, littler still as I perceived the fly on tippy toes. A dimple in the air, I'd watch boop against my window. Oh, hello, cupcake, sugar pot, I'd say to my winged thought, or it would say to me, latching on, oh, I could eat you up. And I'm going to finish with this next piece, and then I'm going to introduce Gabby. I'm quite self-conscious, and I'm aware that I say wow a lot. So if you've had a conversation with me, I probably have said wow like at least 6 or 7 times in like a few minutes. Like, you missed the bus. Wow, that's awful. How did that go? And when I'm out on a hike, I'm really annoying because I'm like, wow, look at that. Wow. And I thought, maybe first I should try and reduce the wows. But now I'm thinking, actually, no, I'm going to lean into them. Yeah, so this is called On Earth. Wow. The nature living here, the plant that wow blooms in circles, and wow, the shadows of each petal. Wow, the natter never minded. Wow, the newt stare in amongst the complex nounsure living here, nowhere. Wow, the nose hair, wild, abundant gnomeware living here. Wow, the beetroot's ratty tail, terry towel like lichen, also wow. Shh, I say, these wows too much. But what on earth am I to do when wows my breath both in and out? Thank you. Okay, we're in for some more wows. Gabby's reading for us next, and this is just incredible. So as Gabby mentioned, we're on this Radcliffe Fellowship together, and it has just been the most incredible opportunity to spend time with Gabby, to be in Gabby's dazzling company. And we've had 6 months of this, and we have like 3 months more. Incredible. So I first came to Gabby's work, I think when I was back in the UK, and I found this amazing poem circulating on Twitter. So I should say straight away, I should have been familiar with Gabby's work before this. But in the UK, we don't get everything good that's happening here. But this poem, I'm sure some of you know it, is called She Ties My Bow Tie. It's from Gabby's third collection, Rocket Fantastic. And I just found myself completely spellbound by this poem. And because I am still slightly spellbound, or I am spellbound by this poem, I'm going to read just the first 3 lines because it's just so gorgeous. The poem begins, "What you thought was the sound of their deer drinking at the base of the ravine was not their soft tongues entering the water, but my love tying my bow tie." Wow. Isn't that gorgeous? So yeah, so looking forward to this reading. Gabby's writing, as Elizabeth Robinson has said, attends the ecstatic sensual surfeit of the world. The leaps and syntheses of Calvocoressi's poems merge unlikely elements with their own imaginative magic. Yet magic here somehow leads us beyond the speculative and into the real. Gabrielle Calvocoressi is a recipient of numerous awards and fellowships, including a Stegner Fellowship and Jones Lectureship from Stanford University, a Rona Jaffe Women Writers Award, a Land Foundation Residency, and next month, Gabby will receive the 2023 Lucille Clifton Legacy Award, which is incredible. Welcome, Gabby.
Wow. Wow. I should take this off. Oh, although the other night I was, have you all gone to the First Church of Cambridge on Sunday nights to Night Song? Which it's so beautiful. It's at 7:30 and they have different singers each week. It's like polyphonic music and it's beautiful. And anyway, I was just getting excited. Now I'm looking at all of you and I'm lost even in what I was saying. Wow. It is such a pleasure to be here. I want to thank James and just everyone at Grolier. It is a dream for me to be here. I've never read at Grolier before, but it's just full of so many beautiful energies and so many ghosts. So many of our beloved people have gone. And I certainly can't start any reading here without saying that my great teacher, Lucy Brock-Broido, I wish she was still in Cambridge and in this world, as I know many people here probably wish as well. Izzy, it's amazing. That's so great. So good to be here together. If I put this here, am I ruining anything? Like, I'm like such the person who shows up and doesn't know where things should go. Okay, well, what a pleasure. Some thoughts on building the atomic bomb. I would not have been great at it. Firstly, I was terrible at science. I got as far as slicing the frog's abdomen open. Then I made an excuse and walked the halls till the bell rang. I know what you're thinking. That's biology. When I looked inside the cavity, I knew I didn't have what it took for a life in science. God, I have intestines like that thing. They pulse and shine like his. Cut me open, you'll see my supper too. No, when I looked inside the cavity, I thought, I can't go on. Volition, that's a thing I don't have. I'd leave the patient on the table rather than get the job done. I'd walk right into the desert and roll around like a chinchilla while everyone else back at the office is considering implosion. I'm dusty as a chinchilla, I'd say, entering the lab. I'm the outside of your mama's fallout shelter. Those poor scientists, every last one wondering what I'm doing there. I mean, I'd love to see the sky bloom, but I can do that already. Look. The sky's blooming right now outside the window, and plenty of people are dying in various ways. And won't the infrastructure fail all on its own without me building a bomb in the desert? These are the kinds of questions that make me know I'm not fit to decimate the planet, which is sort of sad to think about. all that potential I'm just giving up on. Welcome. 15 years ago, not 15, 19 years ago today, I had a real, I had an old-fashioned nervous breakdown that I really never thought I'd get past. I don't know that you can always like name the day, but I can. I just broke. I really broke. Most days I want to live. Not all days, but most days I do. Most days the garden's almost enough. Little pink flowers on the sage, even though the man said we couldn't eat it. Not this kind. And I said, then gosh, what's the point? The flowers themselves, I suppose. The rain came and then the hail came and my love brought them in. Even tipped over, they looked optimistic. I know it's too late to envy the flowers. That century's over and done. And hope, that's a jinx. But I did set them right. I patted them a little and prayed for myself, which is embarrassing to admit in this day and age. But I did it because no one was looking or listening anyway. All the animals, Izzy. Like all the animals we are and all the animals we could be. And all the animals we want to be. When I had my breakdown in 2004, like I'm a real old school Scorpio. So like I'm always obsessing about everything. I'm going to spend the whole night obsessing about this after. And but I would also like get really focused on other people. And then I realized that it was so much easier, instead of like obsessing about other people, while I was sort of going through this obsessive moment in my breakdown, to just like think to myself, like, what kind of animal is that person? Like all judgment removed, like, oh, that person is stealing my shit because they're a squirrel. Perfect. But also, what kind of animal am I? Shaved. Like the buck I am, I turn my head side to side. I hear the leaves rustle. I shake my head a little and birds reel round the forest. I am no branch. My head turns to the side. I see out my side eye. The deep pool of the eye sees itself pool in the mirror. I oil myself till I am all a lather. My chest heaves out so my full heart can abandon the ribs stockade. Where the bullet would go if the hunter were a good shot, that's where I place the razor. I make my skin taut. I pull my own neck back and to the side. I come for myself. Yes, I was a lady once, but now I take the blade and move it slowly past the jugular, up the ridge of my chin where the short hairs glisten. I was once ashamed. It was a thing I did in private, my own self, my quarry, no more. Look how the doe comes round, and also the doves, and also the wolf who lets me pass. The fox offers me the squirrel's hide to buff myself to shining. There is no such thing except the smoothness of my face. Oh, I shaved this morning. It was so good. It really was. The sun got all over everything. Over the boys and girls by the pool. Over the bougainvillea, which got... Oh, yeah. Hi, Lucy. Over the boys and girls. I'm going to start again. How wonderful to get to start again at Grolier. The sun got all over everything. Over the boys and girls by the pool. Over the bougainvillea, which got so hot, my palms stayed warm for minutes after. It made a mess of the day that was supposed to be the worst and lured me outside, so I forgot her death entirely. And also the polar bears scrambling on the ice chips. And also that there was no water in the Golden State. The pool was full and the sun poured across the women's bodies, so you had to shade your eyes, or I did. I had to put my hand up to see what they were saying. I know it's no excuse, and I had made a plan to cry all day and into the evening. I marked it in my book, which seems like something I'd make up in a poem, except this time I actually did it. I wrote, grieve, because we're all so busy, aren't we? And so broke. I needed to make an appointment with my anguish so I could take my mind off buying groceries that I really couldn't afford. Anyway, I didn't mean to go outside, except there the sky was, just ridiculously blue, taunting me with pigment that I felt the need to name. And from somewhere close by, a voice I couldn't see because the sun was like a yolk cracked over it, said, "What are you drinking?" And I said, "I'm grieving. I'm very busy remembering. I made an appointment because last year I forgot and then felt awful." The sun opened its mouth and made a gong of the canyons. It poured across the girls and slicked across their Dior lenses. I put my tongue on it, exactly when I should have been tearing at my clothes and lighting candles. I got on top and let it find the tightness in my back and open where my wings would be. Somewhere my mother was dying and someone was skinning a giraffe. And I let it go. I just let it go. I mean, as we do, as we do. I grew up in New England, and I didn't know that I would ever come back, and here I am. And a lot happened in New England. I learned to walk. No, that's not true. I shouldn't say that. I learned to walk. I learned to walk very late. I have a condition called nystagmus. And so I couldn't get up and down stairs or anything like that until I was 3.5 years old, something like that, 4. And even when I was like 7 years old, I had to crawl upstairs a little bit and I would go down on my butt. And then the time came where I was going to be sent to Catholic school. And the nuns said 2 things had to happen for me to be able to go to school there. And one was I had to stop using the boys' bathroom. I had to stop calling myself a boy. And the second thing, and these I think are related, was that I had to be able to walk up the stairs on my own and down the stairs on my own. No ADA yet. Think about like that little vessel trying to like reframe in all these ways. So I spent one whole summer in Hartford, Connecticut, learning to walk upstairs. Achingly beautiful how the sky blooms umber at the end of the day through the canopy. Summers spent practicing in the apartment stairwell, hand on the banister, one foot after another. Did I ever tell you I couldn't walk until I was 3 and then sort of dragged myself up and down stairs until I was 7 or 8? That burgundy carpet. I'd stop to breathe and look out the window over brick tenements toward the Capitol building. Oak leaves so full of late summer sun, even I thought obscene, and stood stunned for a moment. My God, the urge to let rest like the birds on the phone wires, chatting like barristers at the end of the day, myself, the useless ambassador from the 3rd floor. I was the last one up, so the door was left open. I can still see it gaping from 2 stories down. Sometimes music played. Sometimes I'd smell supper. Neighbors stopped to say hello, achingly beautiful how the sky looked as I stood after they left. Nicer somehow in the middle. All the trees tucking blackbirds into their darkness. It really did take this long. I don't find that bow tie poem easy. I was saying, I love that you read some of that. I said this at a reading, I think I said this when I read it, Radcliffe, but it's called She Ties My Bow Tie. That would be my partner, Angeline, the greatest of all the greats. But one day, after me reading this poem many, many times, she said to me, I don't tie your bow tie, I fix your bow tie. I was like, what kind of title is she fixes my bow tie? But she's right. She ties my bow tie. Let's try it. She fixes my, no, she ties my bow tie. What you thought was the sound of the deer drinking at the base of the ravine was not their soft tongues entering the water, but my love tying my bow tie. We were in our little house just up from the ravine. Forgive yourself. It's easy to mistake her wrists for the necks of deer. Her fingers move so deftly, one could call them skittish, though not really, because they aren't afraid of you. I know. You thought it was the deer, but they're so far down you couldn't possibly hear them. No, this is the breeze my love makes when she ties me up and sends me out into the world. Her breath pulled taut and held until she's through. I watch her in the mirror, not even looking at me. She's so focused on the knot and how to loop the silk into a bow. Angeline Shaka. So great. But you know, we're all lots of different people, and I'm the person who gets their bow tie tied, and I'm the person who can't get up the stairs, and I'm all these, but I'm also, like, I'm really from here in a way. I grew up in a family where we were supposed to be very proud, having been on the Mayflower, right? This incredible pride. We were the family of the first person to fall off the Mayflower, which tells you a lot. But like, what is that pride when you realize, like, oh, I'm from a lineage of destroyers, you know, and there's, what is that? What is that pole? Mayflower cistern, I feel my pilgrim worry. All day long, I feel my pilgrim worry, crude and unforgiving as the buckle on my boots. I mark the boundaries of the town, and then I build a fence. I build a pillory and a scaffold. I bring my gun into the forests and my axe. Inside me, I hurl my brittle body at the pines. I have a plan for them, a way to make them useful, which is God's compact with the world. Whatever does not welcome me, I tear asunder. Whatever welcomes me was mine to sack and bring to my knees. I give the gift of my hunger to everyone, and then I build a fence. The doe is certainly a sorceress. The sparrow was the woman smiling into the mirror of the well. What will I make of this country? Inside me, my pilgrim huddles in the corner of my heart, which I hate for its hopeful sounding, its unwillingness to know the truth of how broken and beyond salvation it is. Nobility cistern, we have a stalwart friend. There were more dark corners on this planet than I could fathom. Everywhere, a dark corner, in the house for sleep and the houses for healing, in the god houses, in the skin houses that cooed and bludgeoned, and sometimes both at once. So many dark places. And always something coming to find you when you just wanted some privacy. Even the dinner plate had its dark corners, so even my food wasn't my own. Where did it come from? The arm, and then darkness, and all my chicken casserole and vegetables gone. You could get killed for not passing the salt. You could get killed for not saying good morning. You could get every bone in your body broken because you didn't bring in the paper, didn't keep the wood stove burning, didn't get the ball in the basket. No, it was a joke. I was supposed to be laughing. A good way to know was how they treated their animals. I lay awake in my light body and heard the wooden pointer whistling through the air until it hobbled the dog into my light body, her light body, whimpering, coward, but then licking the forearm, then running along the riverbanks beside it. Sometimes I'd hit the dog too, with the newspaper rolled tight into a log, hollow drum of her flank. My head hung with her forehead resting on mine. I mean, we're lots of different kinds of animals. My perimenopausal body, cistern, disappointing. How surprising. Boy, is it. Bled all day. Stopped bleeding, bled some more, went to the doctor who reached inside the woman body I try to live with, make peace with, but also ignore. Sad tenant, my uterus. One day the tenant turned out to be my landlord. All day I wonder what it means. Clock I know as well as I know anything, but also never wanted and also won't give up. In the history of my light body, it will show I could have been another. The shots, the surgeon's blade, that freedom, but I hold on. Not out of fear, well, maybe, but also this body I fought for, timid skin sack that grew into a kind of magnificence I'd not expected. I tie my bow tie around my neck that's not quite the neck I want. But still, the neck survived. Hours on the floor begging for my life, bent head crying on the bathroom, bent head walking by the boys yelling hog and dog and ugly as an animal. It's confusing. I protect the breasts that I live without in my mind's eye. I look for hours at men's trousers and kimonos and bleed all day. My mind says, take it out. And though it's one step closer to the one true self I wanted, also, I'd miss it in ways I can't explain. Burnt off scroll, I'm a mirror of a mirror. When I was 8 at daycare, my friends pulled me aside to talk about a sex change. All of us in our Catholic uniforms, Meg, Emily, Nadine, and Brian, who got kicked out because of me. That's later in the story. We drew me in the sand. We planned and wondered how much it cost to be another body. But now I know my body. I pull up my pants and feel the lack of one thing as the muffin top reminds me of the persistence of another. Me, who's with me always. This pillow that looked over me, pillow of skin and fat that I'd call Rubenesque. It tried its best to cover me, so I worry over it. Strange companion, this body that covers me and bleeds all day without ceasing. I say, come on. I say, stop. Like I used to when I'd get too scared of one thing or another. God comes back to find me in the most confounding ways. Me and my body, who are often not the same. Do I have time for one more? No, I don't think so. Thank you so much for having me. I just am so excited to be here together. Now what happens? Can we talk?
No, let's have a short Q&A.
Yeah?
What do you say, 3 questions?
3 questions.
You want to stand so the Zoom people can see too?
Oh, hi, Zoom people. Are these the Zoom people?
Those are the Zoom people.
Questions, anyone?
Any questions? If not, we'll each read one more poem. Questions?
Need more poems.
One more poem
One more
piece. How about I read one and then you ring us out, Izzy?
Okay.
You ring us out. This is called Hammond B3 organ cistern. Because you all make me want to be alive. And you know what? 19 years ago today, I did not think I would be here today. Thanks, Izzy, for being here with me. Hammond B3 organ cistern. The days I don't want to kill myself are extraordinary. Deep bass, all the people in the streets waiting for their high fives and leaping, leaping when they see me. I am the sun-filled god of love, or at least an optimistic undersecretary. There should be a word for it. The days you wake up and do not want to slit your throat. Money in the bank, enough for an iced green tea every weekday and Saturday and Sunday. It's like being in the armpit of a Hammond B3 organ, just reeks of gratitude and funk. The funk of ages. I am not going to ruin my love's life today. It's like the time I said yes to gray sneakers, but then the salesman said, wait. And there, out of the back room, like the bakery's first biscuits, bright blue kicks, iridescent, like a scarab. Oh, who am I kidding? It was nothing like a scarab. It was like bright blue fucking sneakers. I did not want to die that day. Oh my God, why don't we talk about it? How good it feels. And if you don't know, then you're lucky, but also you poor thing. Bring the band out on the stoop. Let the whole neighborhood hear. Come on, everybody. Say it with me nice and slow. No pills, no cliff, no brains on the floor. Bring the bass back. No rope, no hose. Not today, Satan. Every day I wake up with my good fortune and news of my demise. Don't keep it from me. Why don't we have a name for it? Bring the bass back. Bring the band out on the stoop. Hallelujah.
Okay.
Mm.
This is called Worm. Worm. And like so many times before, the worm catches the bird by quietly and cleanly pushing from the dirt. Standing on point, the worm attacks his yellow beak, jabs so hard the bird's almost lifted from his feet. Professional, silk-suited, she requires just one stroke to twist herself around the silver hook inside his throat. The worm, both rein and rider, now being safely tied, gives a final twitch and hoists the bird into the sky.
Yeah, thanks. Gabby's great.
Another round of applause for these poets. Thank you everybody for coming. There will be books for sale up front and folks will probably be willing to sign them. If you could please fold your chairs and put them against the walls, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you everybody. Have a great night.
Thanks, everyone. You were so